A pesar de los avances tecnológicos y de la reciente incursión de la inteligencia artificial, la muerte sigue siendo un misterio. ¿Por qué morimos? Es la pregunta fundamental. El hombre niega la muerte y en su afán por no envejecer, por no morir, ha recurrido a la ciencia para mantenerse vivo y alcanzar la inmortalidad. Esta pregunta también ha sido motivo de estudio del profesor Venki Ramakrishnan, biólogo estructural nacido en la India. En 2009 ganó el Premio Nobel de Química, junto a Thomas Arthur States y Ada Jonas, por el estudio de la estructura y función del ribosoma. En 2020 publicó La máquina genética, un texto en el que narra el descubrimiento de la estructura del ribosoma y su papel esencial en la biología moderna. En su último libro, ¿Por qué nos morimos?, el profesor Venki Ramakrishnan explora la ciencia del envejecimiento y los límites biológicos de la vida. El Premio Nobel de Química analiza por qué la muerte es inevitable y nos revela qué significa estar vivos. ¿Por qué nos morimos?
Hola, ¿qué tal? Muy buenos días. Estamos listos para empezar esta entrevista con el Premio Nobel de Química 2009, Venki Ramakrishnan. Él estuvo ya en el Complejo Cultural Universitario en compañía de la comunidad universitaria en esta charla que tuvo con los universitarios de la Benemérita Universidad Autónoma de Puebla. Y hoy estamos pues en confianza para platicar con el doctor Venki y llevar a cabo esta entrevista sobre la presentación de este libro, que es una pregunta fundamental: ¿por qué nos morimos? Y también nos acompaña el doctor Omar López Cruz del INAOE. Doctor, ¿cómo está? Muy buen día.
Muy buenos días, Mónica. Muy buenos días, Radio y TV WAP. Estamos muy contentos de celebrar la ciencia en Puebla y con nosotros está el ganador del Premio Nobel 2009, el Premio Nobel de Química, el profesor Venki Ramakrishnan. Bienvenido, doctor.
Muchas gracias.
Perfecto.
Es un gran placer.
Agradecidos por tu visita.
Al contrario, para nosotros es un gran placer platicar con usted, profesor. Un honor, un gusto como periodista científica. Bueno, pues la verdad es que entrevistar a un premio Nobel es un sueño hecho realidad. De modo que, si quiere, doctor, empezamos con las preguntas. Usted ha tenido una larga trayectoria científica, usted es biólogo molecular. Inclusive entre sus grandes logros ha sido ser presidente de la Royal Society de Londres en 2005. Y yo le preguntaría, doctor, después de todo este recorrido en su trayectoria científica, ¿cómo fue que llegó a plantearse esta pregunta que establece en este libro, que es una pregunta fundamental para todos los seres humanos? ¿Por qué nos morimos?
Okay, after all your career, you're getting here with a book that talks about why we die, and the question is, how did you get to this point? How did you arrive?
I think for many reasons. One is that it's a very interesting question. It's a question that humans have wondered for a long time, why we age and die. The other is that for a long time we didn't know the mechanisms of aging, but we are now beginning to understand the biological processes that take place over the course of time that result in aging and eventually in death. So for the first time we're able to understand some of the reasons behind it, and that means we may be in a position to tackle it and maybe to slow down aging or possibly delay it or possibly even reverse it. And then another issue is that societies are all getting older, and so there's a lot of interest in the processes of aging and whether that understanding can be used to keep older people healthy, because a bigger and bigger fraction of society will consist of older individuals. And then a third factor is that there's a lot of private money that is going into aging, and this is resulting in a lot of hype because everybody is worried about aging, and so it's easy to be swayed by various claims and so on. And so I thought it would be good to write a book about the biology of aging that is realistic, that talks about what we know and what the prospects are.
Thank you. ¿Tienes la próxima pregunta? Yo traduzco. Las hacemos así.
Bien, sí. Profesor Ramakrishnan, le pregunto, ¿cuál es su valoración respecto a la ciencia del envejecimiento que pues está teniendo un boom en los últimos años? En la última década, las industrias, los científicos han trabajado a favor de la ciencia del envejecimiento. ¿Cuál es su opinión como científico, como biólogo molecular, esta intención del ser humano por alargar la existencia?
So why are we trying to live longer after all this time? Is there a psychology to it, or is there something else?
I think humans have always worried about aging and dying, and even in historic times, the Emperor of China didn't want to die and tried very hard to prevent his getting old, although he was not very successful because he died when he was in his early 40s. But I think that a lot of aging research is not about extending life, but rather to try to improve health in old age. And that is a different goal. The question is whether you can keep people healthier in old age without extending their life. And that is not absolutely clear. It may be that you will end up also extending their life and postponing that period of decay rather than simply compressing it. So, but the goal is, the official goal anyway, for most of the researchers, is to improve health in aging.
Bien, thank you, Professor. Another question tiene que ver con cómo es que la ciencia está logrando avanzar para definir un rumbo hacia el envejecimiento, doctor. Esta es una pregunta fundamental porque además seguramente nuestras audiencias en TV WAP y Radio WAP se preguntarán ¿cuáles son los resultados de las investigaciones en torno a la ciencia del envejecimiento? ¿Cuántos años viviremos más los seres humanos? ¿Esto será factible? ¿Viviremos hasta los 100, 120, 150 años?
So how science is influencing these goals of society that you mentioned, right? That some people want to live healthy, some people want to live longer, and the question is what is true and what is feasible and what is just impossible?
Well, there's no physical or chemical law that says that our lifespan has to be fixed. Right now, the limit of human life is about 110 to 120. Only one person that we know of has lived to be over 120, and she died at 122. And so, but there is no law that has to be a fixed number. Maybe if we are able to interfere with the processes of aging, we might improve health and allow people to live longer. I think that is not realistic at the moment. And it's also, there's no physical or chemical law that we cannot settle in Mars, but it's not exactly feasible today. And despite what Mr. Musk may think. So I think what I would say is probably in the foreseeable future, there may be interventions, therapeutics or procedures that allow you to be healthier in old age. I think that is more realistic. And that you might get an increase in lifespan, but I don't think this dramatic increase in lifespan to 150 or several hundred years, I don't think that is going to be in the near future or in the foreseeable future, because I think some fundamental problems have to be solved before that's even thinkable.
Bien. Otra de las preocupaciones de la humanidad y de todos aquellos que hemos hojeado su libro, profesor, tiene que ver con el asunto de las enfermedades. ¿Qué enfermedades pueden resolverse gracias a la ciencia del envejecimiento? Enfermedades, padecimientos como el cáncer, como las enfermedades neurodegenerativas como el Alzheimer o el Parkinson, son dudas que los ciudadanos del mundo tenemos respecto a si estas se curarán gracias a la ciencia del envejecimiento. Tenemos inclusive un ejemplo como la diabetes, que aqueja a gran parte de la humanidad, principalmente Estados Unidos y México.
So the question is like, by doing research in aging, are we also impacting other diseases that we cannot cure at the moment?
Well, maybe not directly, but scientists have pointed out that the biggest risk factor for many of these diseases, like cancer, diabetes, heart disease, or neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, the biggest risk factor is age. The older you are, the more likely you are to get one of these diseases. Of course, you can be young and get cancer, but the probability of getting cancer goes up with age. And so there is an idea that if you can tackle aging, you will also prevent or delay the onset of these other diseases until later. And maybe, by that time you may die of other reasons like frailty. So that is one kind of idea that is prevalent in longevity research.
Bien. Profesor Ramakrishnan, usted establece en uno de sus últimos capítulos en el libro un análisis sobre las consecuencias sociales, sobre todo, que puede traer esta intención de los seres humanos por alargar la vida. Y una de ellas tiene que ver con las condiciones socioeconómicas del mundo entero y sociodemográficas también. Una que me llama la atención sobre todo, doctor, tiene que ver con la desigualdad. Ese es un tema fundamental no solamente para nuestro país, México, para Latinoamérica, sino también para el mundo entero.
So if we increase longevity, we will also be opening a new avenue for inequality. So do you have any opinion on that subject?
I think this is true of almost any medical advance. It's already true that the richest people, even in the UK, which has a national health service and is a social sort of welfare state, even in the UK, the richest 10% live 10 years more than the poorest 10%. And so it is really true that the rich live longer on average than the poor. And if you have very sophisticated treatments that are expensive, then of course this inequality can grow. So I think, but this is a social and political problem, which is how to make sure that scientific advances and medical advances are equitably distributed in the population. I mean, that is true even for conventional medicine. Poor people have poorer medical care than rich people, so it's not different for longevity.
Bien, profesor, usted pues nos está resumiendo, nos está diciendo que este objetivo de la ciencia del envejecimiento por alargar nuestros años de vida, pues abrirá más las brechas de desigualdad y diremos que los ricos serán más saludables y vivirán más años y los pobres menos saludables y vivirán menos años. ¿Los gobiernos del mundo están preparados para estos cambios, para estos retos que acabamos de describir?
So at the level of government, do you think that they are prepared for the revolution ahead?
I think governments everywhere have to be ready because all over the world, with the exception of sub-Saharan Africa, which still has a high birth rate, it is true that people are living longer and the birth rate is going down. Even in Latin America, which used to have high growth rates, high birth rates, it's going down. So nearly all countries eventually are going to face an aging population, and so it is going to be important for societies to, or especially governments and institutions, to think about how to deal with this future and how to make sure that resources are equitably distributed.
Bien, doctor, ¿cuáles serían los consejos que usted desde la ciencia, con un premio Nobel de Química 2009, puede darnos a los ciudadanos respecto a esta industria que en los últimos años ha generado un boom respecto a la ciencia del envejecimiento? Todos estos productos milagros que se nos venden para ser más jóvenes y no morir.
Mónica, creo que la pregunta mejor aquí sería, ¿qué nos dice de las cosas que sí funcionan para ayudarnos a vivir mejor?
Adelante.
So, if we read your book, you mention all of these things about what works and what doesn't work. What we want to know is what does work and we can apply it to our daily life that can help us.
Oh, okay. Well, there are a number of therapeutics that are being developed, but they still have to go through rigorous clinical trials to ensure safety and efficacy. But currently, you can take matters in your own hands. One thing you can do, for example, you can eat moderately and healthily. You can exercise regularly, and if you're getting older, I would recommend both aerobic exercise as well as resistance exercise, because one is for the heart and cardiovascular system, the other is for maintaining muscle mass and strength. And then you also need to sleep, because many of the damage that we accumulate as we live is repaired and recycled when we sleep, and a lot of regeneration goes on when we sleep. So I think those three are very useful. And people talk about stress, but of course if you exercise and sleep well, you will also reduce your stress. So you can see how there's a broad effect. And there are also some social indications. One is that people who have a strong network of friends and family tend to have lower mortality rates. So not being isolated in old age is very important. This is, as societies get older, it's important not to isolate old people from, the rest of society. And the other is that people with a sense of purpose tend to live longer. And so that's also important. And the sense of purpose doesn't have to be what you were doing when you had a job before you retired. You can have other purpose in life. You can do, charity work or altruistic work. So these are some things that we can do. But I have to tell you that diet and exercise also help with blood pressure and cholesterol. And despite my efforts, I eventually had to go on medications for blood pressure and cholesterol. And I may have to go on medication for diabetes, which could also be prevented by exercise. So I think the goal of aging research is, it's not that we should not do these things ourselves, but it can help us beyond what we can do ourselves.
Bien.
Sí.
Una pregunta que me gustaría hacer también, profesor Ramakrishnan, tiene que ver con esta pregunta que es fundamental. ¿Por qué nos morimos? Que también tiene tintes filosóficos. Doctor, ¿hasta qué punto los seres humanos tenemos que avanzar o detenernos en la ciencia del envejecimiento? Es bueno para la humanidad vivir más y querer ser inmortales?
So the idea is, why we die? And if it's good, I mean, it's a good goal that we should prolong our lives and go against this principle that we actually die. We all die. So what do you think?
Well, you know, I like to say that people live to be, on average, less than 40 years, 150 years ago. And we live to be sort of 80 years, so more than double what we lived 150 years ago. And so if I wanted to give you a counter argument, I would ask, do you want to go back to the old days? Okay, are you unhappy that we doubled our lifespan in the last 150 years? And most people would say, no, we don't want to go back to the old days. So I think this is a complicated question. I think if you extend life indefinitely, and then you also have very low birth rates, you may end up with a very stagnant society which will create problems, intergenerational fairness issues. But on the other hand, we are instinctively, we don't want to die because we like to exist. And so this is a complicated problem. What the individual wants is not necessarily what is good for society.
Y Mónica, pues si puedo hacer la última pregunta.
Adelante, doctor Omar.
I will ask you the last question for
Okay.
this session. You have retired, and I asked you this one in Guadalajara. What are you going to do now?
I don't know. I think I like to say that the whole advantage of being retired is you don't have to do anything. That is the meaning of being retired.
But you wanted to be a consultant, you wanted to do other things, enjoy your grandchildren.
I don't know. Maybe I will improve. Quizás puedo mejorar mi español. Sí.
Good.
Muy bien. Sí, así es. Por último, en ese sentido, doctor, me gustaría mencionar que ayer justamente en la conferencia que usted impartió, en la plática que tuvo con los universitarios, sobre todo con los estudiantes, usted comentaba, la próxima conferencia seguramente, una vez que incremente mi español, será en español. Y eso a nosotros en la Benemérita Universidad Autónoma de Puebla nos da un gusto enorme. Esta es su casa y seguramente en los siguientes años, si nos visita, aquí estaremos dándole la bienvenida.
Monica has reminded you that yesterday you said that your next talk will be in Spanish. So she says that this is your house, this is your home. When you're ready, we'll be ready for you to come and deliver your talk in Spanish.
Muchísimas gracias, señora.
A usted, profesor. Gracias. Bien, esta fue la entrevista que realizamos de forma conjunta entre Radio WAP y TV WAP. Gracias al doctor Omar López Cruz, quien nos acompañó en la traducción y es uno de los responsables de que el profesor Ramakrishnan haya estado aquí con nosotros, no solamente en esta entrevista, sino también en su visita a la Benemérita Universidad Autónoma de Puebla. Profesor Ramakrishnan, un honor. Gracias.
Thank you very much.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias a todos.